Okay, this is Algebra 2, 1.3, solving equations. Again, this is just a review from Algebra 1. On solving equations, you should be really good at solving equations. We shouldn't have to spend a lot of time on this. This is just completely refresher because you guys are awesome at solving equations, I'm pretty sure. Okay, remember an algebraic expression from lesson 1.1 that we talked about does not have an equal sign, and it has variables in it, which means it has letters, it has numbers, and it normally has some type of symbol. So multiplication, addition, subtraction, division. Those are your four operations. Now when we get into equations, equations have an equal sign. It states that two expressions are equal to each other. So that's the difference. An expression does not have an equal sign, an equation does. Open sentences, I'll let you guys read that. We're not really going to work with that too much today. That was more completely Algebra 1, but I will let you read that as you go. Remember that inverse operations are operations that undo each other. Addition and subtraction are inverse operations. Multiplication and division are inverse operations. For example, when you're solving an equation and there's an addition portion, to undo that task, you would do subtraction. So let's get to, let me scroll this down. So you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division words there. You can write these down or just refer back to this video every time. Preferably write them down. These are words, when you're reading a word problem, if you see the word plus, sum, more than, all than, altogether, increase by, total, and all, and add, those are going to be clues that you're going to be adding at that part. Remember that more than and less than, they're a little tricky because you do them, like if it says 5 more than x, it's going to be x plus 5. Remember that 5 kind of goes to the end. It's not so important in addition, but definitely important in subtraction. So if it said 5 less than x, it would be x minus 5. Always keep that in your head there. And then you can go ahead and read through those. I don't need to read those for you. Remember, to be solving an equation, you read the variable side, you find the variable. What are you going to do to undo what they have done to the variable? Do the opposite operation to both sides of the equation. Remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. And when you're solving an equation, write the variable equal to the answer. So let's get started with some examples here. I'm going to move this up. So we'll start very, very basic. We'll start with n minus 3.24 is equal to 42.1. And I know you're thinking, why did she have to throw some decimals in there? You know, you guys are allowed to use calculators, so the decimals should not trick you up. They should be just as like a regular problem to you. You can solve those pretty easily. So you find the variable. In this case, our variable is n. And so we say, what's been done to n? Well, n has been subtracted by 3.24. To get n by itself, to solve the problem, we're going to have to add 3.24 because addition and subtraction are inverses of each other. What I do to one side, you have to do to the other side. This should always cancel if you did it correctly. And so you have n is equal to, and then type in your calculator, 42.1 plus 3.24. So you get 45.34. Now, solving equations, it's easy to check your answer. Plug it back in. Plug 45.34 in for n minus 3.24. Now, that's not something you have to write down. Type in your calculator. Type in 45.34 minus 3.24 and see if you get 42.1, and you do. So we know that our answer is correct. So that was very, very basic, back to the very first couple lessons of Algebra 1. So now let's get a little bit more into problems that we ended Algebra 1 with, and you're going to start Algebra 2 with. This will be example number 2. On this one, before you can start solving, you have to distribute. You have to distribute the 5 and you have to distribute the 2. When I'm distributing the 5, remember that that ending parentheses behind the 3 says this is where you stop distributing that 5 at. So when I distribute the 5, and I'll change colors as I do this, we have 5 times x. So you have 5x, and then you have 5 times 3, which is 15, plus, we distribute the 2, 2 times negative x, so we get minus 2x, and then we still have our equal 14. Once we've distributed everything, then we go to our next step, which is combining like terms. We have 5x minus 2x, so we have 3x. We can also do 15 plus 2 at the same time and get 17. Once we've simplified this, this is just a multi-step equation, and so you always start what's farthest away from x first. So here is our x. We want to undo what they've done to it. We start with the 17 because it's the farthest away. So we subtract 17 from both sides. So you have 3x is equal to negative 3. And then you say, well, what are they doing to x right now? Well, they're multiplying by 3. So you're going to do the opposite of that, which would be divide. This cancels up here. So you have x equals negative 1. And again, when you're checking your work, plug it back in. You would say negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10, so you have 10. Plus, plug in negative 1 here. 1 minus negative 1 is 2. And 2 times 2 is 4. Does 10 plus 4 equal 14? And it does. So you know that it has been verified that your answer is, in fact, negative 1. Okay, let's move to ones that have formulas. Actually, not yet. We're not going to go there yet. Let's do another example of this one. So it has negative 10x plus 3 times 4x minus 2 equals 6. At this point, I would like you to pause the video, work this problem, and then unpause it so that you can see if you did it correctly and compare your work. So I'm going to go ahead and solve it now. Hopefully you've done the problem like I've asked. So you have negative 10x plus, I'm distributing the 3, 12x minus 6 equals 6. So you combine like terms, so you have negative 10x plus 12, excuse me, plus 12x, so you have 2x minus 6 is equal to 6. Again, we do it farthest away from the variable, so we're going to add 6 to both sides. So 2x equals 12. Divide everything by 2. And x is equal to 6. And hopefully you've already checked your answer and that you also got the answer of 6. Okay, let's move to that formula now. We're going to say a is equal to 1/2 the height times base 1 plus base 2. This is the area of a trapezoid, where h represents the height, b1, and b2 represents the measures of the base. And we want to solve the formula for b2. So what they're telling us is they want us to get the formula of b2, and we want to solve for b2. We want to have that completely by itself. So the first thing I would do here is we want the stuff on the outside of that parenthesis to go away. We don't want to distribute it because that would cause more work for us in the end. We want to divide because they're multiplying 1/2 h. So we're going to divide that. If you do it to one side, you got to do it to the other side. This will cancel. And if you recall from Algebra 1, the number in front of this a is a 1. And so if you type in your calculator 1 divided by 1/2, you're going to get the answer of 2. So 2a, and that h is still on bottom because we haven't divided with that h yet. So we have 2a over h is equal to b1 plus b2. Then if we're wanting b2 by itself, all we have to do is subtract b1. So our answer is going to say b2 is equal to 2a over h minus b1. And there's our our answer for b2. Now we didn't just get a number answer because there's more variables in this problem than they gave us solutions to. So they only gave us told us that we wanted the answer of B2. They didn't tell us what B1 and H is or the area, and so we can't go any farther with that problem. We have to be done at that point. Okay, let's do, get that out of the way. Let's do one more problem. Maybe. We're going to have to wait for that to reboot. Okay, so let's do one more problem of solving for variables. And again, once I write this one down, pause it, solve for the variable, and then verify your work. So x plus y over z minus a is equal to b, and we're going to solve for y. Let me get a different color for this one. So you find y, it's right here. We've got this a to deal with before we can work with our fraction, and so they're subtracting an a. I'm going to add it over just so that's done. So you have x plus y over z is equal to b plus a. The commutative property tells me that I also can write that as a plus b, which I probably would have just because I like the alphabet in order. And so, but it's the same answer if you write b plus a or a plus b. Now to get to this y, this x kind of has handcuffs on the top. We can't touch the y until we get rid of the z. So you have to think about what's happening to the z. The z is dividing by, so we're going to multiply by z. The z's cancel. So you have x plus y equals, you can leave it as z parentheses b plus a or a plus b, however you decided to write it down. And that's fine. You can also distribute the z if you would prefer that way. Since we're solving for y, we want the y by itself. This x is positive. I need to subtract it. So then I have my answer. Y is equal to z times b plus a minus x. And that will be the conclusion of this lesson.